All right, so Zoom connects straight to YouTube via webinar. All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Let me get this tweeted out for everybody here so everybody can join in. 1 second. Do, 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 do. All right, so that's tweeted out there into tweet space. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good. Well, it looks like everybody's starting to get logged in here. Hopefully the sound check, make sure everything's coming through okay. Good, good, good. Hey, Vin, can you hear me okay? Just making sure everything's coming through all right. Okay, good. All right. Well, we're going to get started here today. So really good. Thanks, Ben. So going to get started here today. Really excited to have Options Mike here with us. Everybody knows Mike Pisani has been on everything from CNBC to a regular guest on TD Ameritrade. So, and he's a regular Bubblehead channel visitor. So it's always great to have him here. I love his perspective on the market. It's the sort of reasoning, the sound reasoning in the in the noise. So it's always very, very helpful. So very happy to have him here. Before we get started here, real quick, just want to mention to everybody, of course, that everything we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only and non-investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. All right, great. Good stuff here. Okay, good. So real quick, what we're going to do is I'm just going to run through a quick take of the market, and then I'm going to pass it over to Options Mike, and he's going to go over his take of the market. And then if there's time left over, we're going to run through and do some chart requests. We already have a few that have come in so far, so looking forward to that. And Mike does a great job with that, doing the lightning round, if you will. So we'll get into that too. So let me switch over to the charts here. All right, hopefully those are going to be coming up here pretty soon. So real quick on the market, obviously we can see the market has hit all-time highs again. We have a nice hammer so far on the monthly chart. Weekly chart was a little bit of a spinning top last week, but still green and all-time highs. And what that did last week is shift to a fresh all-time high, which gave us a fresh trend line. So new high, fresh trend line. So we're right now bullish until proven otherwise. A little bit of a topping tail, so we'll see if that gets any follow through to the either way, possible doji sandwich up or possible reversal doji. So we'll keep an eye on that. And of course, this was the price. Well, before we do that, let's look at our geometric chart. So we have our channel that's worked its way up, got over the pitchfork midpoint line, right into this reaction line right here. So we know that traced back from a little bit of a while ago, a little bit of a move down here. So we'll see if that ends up being the case here, or if we plow through it and it just ends up not really being the right reaction area. Friday was a little bit nuts, and we're going to talk about that a little bit here. So I mean, just trade deal was on, then trade deal was off, and then there's a press conference. Trade deal is on, and then afterward, trade deal is off. So just pretty nutty behavior. You have to be real careful these days. With overnights and even intraday too, you have to be very, very tactical with your setups there. So these were kind of the things that we look at, and of course these were the levels that we use for our subscribers here, just to make sure that we have some ideas of where we could be going. So you can see we did a great job on Friday, pushing up to the monthly R1 level, giving a topping tail here, and then pushing back down to the 15 orb low until chopping around for the rest of it. Not even one of those Friday end of the day moves. So that's what we had there. So good stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to pass it over to Options Mike. And again, thank you, Mike, for joining in tonight. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And again, Mike is known worldwide on his appearances on CNBC and TD Ameritrade, and of course the most popular of which is the Bubblehead channel here. So let me stop the share here and pass it over to Mike. Just 1 second.
Hey BH, thanks for having me back. It's wonderful to be back on your show. It is one of the best shows to be on.
Awesome.
Hope everybody's doing great out there today.
Let me make sure this is coming through okay. Okay, it shows that you've started sharing the screen, and just making sure it's coming over okay.
Please and try to.
1 second.
Let's see, is my screen up yet?
Not yet. I don't see it yet through mine, but give me 1 second.
Let me try it again. I put it up and it
I can
bounced
see it.
back.
Yeah, it's starting to share. I can see it in the mini screen. Now it says Michael Pisani on the top here. Give me one. Then it's jumping back here. Hold on. Why is it jump? Okay, now I can see your screen now.
Perfect. Okay.
Everybody see it okay? I think we're good. Everybody hear Mike okay?
Are we
We're
good?
good. I think we're
Perfect.
good. I don't see it. Yep. Papa says he sees it. And then volume okay? Okay, good. All right, good. Awesome. You're good to go, Mike.
So, it's been an interesting year, right? The market's up, what, 27% off the lows from last Christmas. I remember last Christmas, I was the only person saying we're going to get a Santa rally about a couple days before Christmas. And everybody I did that webinar, we were looking, I could see them staring at me through the, through the microphone and through the video, like, you're an idiot. uh, but, I felt really strongly that I didn't think we'd get the rally we got, but I thought we'd get a Santa rally last year. The move off that lows has been vicious. It's been incredible. And the one thing I like to keep pointing out to my subs on the chart, this is the S&P 500, is you notice how the green line, which is the 200-day, how it was just flat through this whole section. Then suddenly it started to move up right back here into September. And, markets are funny. They get trapped to things. They know, especially the indexes, they never like to get too far away from the moving averages. And it really couldn't get away until we got rid of all this November crap behind us, right? Does that make sense? So we had all this negative price action from last October until December weighing upon the S&P 500 and the 200-day moving average. And in September, that started to slowly fade off of here. And you can see as the 200-day started to move up, guess what happened with the markets? We started to break out. And we finally took out this all-time high, this resistance. And I don't know about UBH, but for me, the most, I like to see a retest to show commitment to it. We haven't even been weak enough to retest it.
Right.
All right.
Right.
I mean, it's just an incredible move. And, for my subs, I've been trying to keep them long mind in the market. It's not been easy to keep that long mind because we've been in this politically charged, news driven market that intraday is hell. And as you and I were talking about, I mean, Friday was about as dumb as a day as you could ever get in the market.
Yeah. I mean, it was like really, this is happening. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
We wake up, the market, put an all-time high on the ES pre-market,
Yeah.
and we're dripping down. And then Kramer's out there saying there's no deal. Then Trump comes out and tweets fake news, Wall Street Journal, no deal. And then China, an hour and a half later, press conference, deal.
Right. And like you said, it was a binary event. Like there was some people were thinking that it was going to be negative, right? That they were that because that's the first time they've actually done a press conference, right? From
Correct.
what I've seen. I mean, there's been like the tweets and like that global news editor guy, he's always saying, like he's like the voice of China. And then it's like, so China really hasn't come out and said anything like publicly like that. And then there's this, major press conference at 10 o'clock. Originally it was 9:30, right? And then it was 10. It was like 9. Well, let's give the markets time to figure out what direction they're going. And then they do this. It was crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen such a headline-driven market.
It's absolutely insane. And what I'm really hoping for here is, as we come into the final 2 weeks of the year, is that we get a break from this, right? And to me, everything that wall of worry has been worried about, and last week everything kind of came to a head, right? Has now disappeared. Brexit, the election's over. We know what's happening there. The Fed has done their thing. Phase 1 is done. There's going to be no new tariffs.
Yeah. And I love when the phase 1, 2, and 3 came out. It's okay. Now we have phases.
Yeah. So everybody's going to talk about phase 2, and all the talking heads are going to be out there talking about the deal's not good enough. We don't even know what the terms of the deal are yet, right? So we're not going to know to January. So these guys are going to talk and talk and talk. And, I try to tell everybody, tune out the noise. And if you just look at the chart, and it was hard to tune out the noise. I mean, the last month and a half, it's been impossible to tune out the noise. But everything changed here, right? We gapped up, a lot of shorts in the market here, gapped up above the 8-day, and we never took that gap back, right? You got this big gap up that held, and then we just started making an orderly move up in the markets with a lot of gap ups, right? And that was the frustrating thing about this. Right. We gapped up a lot, and a lot of them didn't even get filled. They're still here.
Sure.
And so, you had shorts trapped, and everybody said, oh, we're going too far, too fast. I'm like, we're just breaking out. Now, our SPY gave some signs. If you were paying attention when RSI got hot up here, it was a time to be a little bit more careful, right?
Hmm.
ETFs don't like to get hot. And then we got this quick move down. And honestly, I thought we were going to go lower that day. I thought we might retest the 50-day or the breakout level,
Yeah,
right?
it got pretty scary that day. That happened quickly.
And I thought we should. In fact, I was surprised that that's as far as we went down. But what this did is this showed incredible commitment that day to the market because it created an island bottom. You gapped down, trapped everybody who shorted into that day, and you gapped up the next day, right?
Yep.
Never gave them out, spent 2 days going sideways, and then we really gapped up and
Right.
really trapped
Right.
everybody.
Right.
And
Then
everybody in
the
here,
next day, but now it's gonna go now, right? Nope.
yeah. And then everybody in here is like, it's gonna fall apart. This is fake. This is fake. This is fake. I'm like, it's fine. We have a lot of news this week. Don't read into the action.
Yeah.
And then there's your Thursday move, and everybody's like, oh, Friday, finally we're gonna sell. So I take
Don't
on
forget
Fridays.
don't forget it was Fed Day this week too. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just been doing nothing over the last couple of times. It's just like, oh yeah, we're not gonna raise rates. Oh, okay, whatever.
there was Fed in this, right? We had tariffs. I
Rates
forget we
were
had.
rates were the end of the world like a couple months ago, a couple quarters ago. It's just like, the first time they lower rate, they talk about rates, oh, market flushes. The second time they get way back up there, okay, let's do it again. And now it's no one's even talking about it.
Nobody cares because the economy's strong, right? The jobs data came back good. The economy remains strong. So everybody's like Friday. Well, Friday, why didn't we rally? We rallied Thursday. So Friday, you saw profit taking.
Yeah.
We don't go straight up, guys. In fact, we were getting a little hot going into Friday at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's like, "Oh, what's now?" Well, for me, what I'm looking for here is you got options expiration this week. Typically, Mondays and Tuesdays into Wednesdays are choppy. Probably we could even see some down action. Maybe go back to the 8-day. I love the 8-day moving average. Look how we just been hugging this thing, right? Other than the break right here, we've been just hugging this thing. It's incredibly strong. Loves it. We've been supporting it this whole run, other than that quick break and back above it. You could dip into the 8-day here, go sideways, and then set yourself up for an end of the year, end of the week, end of the year grind higher. And
Mm-hmm.
what everybody forgets here is that everybody's going to be marking up stocks that have been strong this year because got to show I was in them.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's Apple like all over.
Yeah. So my look at the end for the end of this year is the noise should quiet down. And if anybody says impeachment, I'm gonna go over and strangle them because this market hasn't cared about impeachment since after the
Could
first
care less.
48 hours.
It's more of like a joke. It really is. It's
Yeah.
more of it's like really, really, you guys like even care about this? Like,
Well, I listen to my news squawk, and it's the guy who says, and the impeachment news, and I'm just like, why are we even talking about this? The market doesn't even react.
right. Yeah. Yeah. It has no interest on it. I mean, it was at one point, it was the only news like during the day. It was like market's kind of ticking a penny down on that news.
Well, somewhere in the middle of that, that raging press conference move up on the SPY, they announced they voted for the impeachment.
I know, right? Yeah. Great job, guys. Good timing.
Nobody even noticed. Nobody cared. Afterwards, I saw it. I'm like, oh, look at that's over.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So I think you look for this year, and then we'll see what next year brings. I kind of have this opinion that as long as he's president, he's not going to let this market go too far because it doesn't matter whether you like him or don't like him. He bases his presidency on the stock market. I mean, how many times did he tweet this week? Markets at all new time highs. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah. Enjoy. Right. Enjoy. Yeah.
So he bases that. So with him running for a re-election, he's not going to let this go far. He's going to be out to make sure it goes up and keep it pumping it up. So I kind of suspect that we rally into the election next year. And then we find out what the heck really is going to happen.
Right. Yeah. That is going to be very interesting. That is going to be probably the big move, or whatever. It's going to be big. It's going to be wild up into the elections. I know it.
But when you look at this market, it's just breaking out, and I always try to tell people that, and it's like this market is just getting going. And if what I like to do is go to this weekly chart, and you can see how history kind of repeats itself. Here was the big move up, then we consolidated. Remember in 15 into 16, this choppy, disastrous mess. Well, this was kind of very similar, just at a higher level and a little bit more volatile. We just consolidated before breaking out for that another run. And we
Hmm.
all remember that run ended with that January that was just off the hook before
Yep.
right? So this kind of just feels like that. It just, you can look at the chart,
A little bit
just,
bigger, a little bit bigger, but
yeah,
percentage wise similar.
percentage wise, similar type of action, and it's a very orderly move. And the market really just feels fine here. And I'm kind of in that mode where I keep telling everybody, buy the dip. If you get a dip, buy the dip.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I did in my newsletter was recently was compare what was going on now. This is right when that market had just broken that trend line, right, on the SPX. And, I was like, I pulled up a chart from 1929, 1987, and then, put them all together with what was happening just like of that last trend line break. I'm like, guys, this is like anything like it did back then before a market crash. Like there was months between the first trend line breakdown, and now we're back above it again. You know what I mean? It's like it's completely different. And there's so many bears out there when things just start to look a little bit red. That they're like, oh, this is it, this is the end. That type of
Well,
thing. And so
the
it's
other
like
thing
sometimes you
is,
just have to look at it practically.
barring a black swan event, markets generally flash warning signs. You
Yeah.
typically make a series of lower highs, right?
Yep.
You don't
Yep.
just crash, you come down a little bit, you bounce up, you don't make a high, you pull back in, you start making a series of lower highs. And
Exactly.
we haven't seen that yet. We just haven't. Since December 26th last year, right? Everything has just been either moving up or, where we got stuck in this channel, but it's been just a series of higher highs into it. And then we finally took out this level, right? We made a new all-time high, took this level out, and it's just been off.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like to see, what I've seen is that we've seen this rotation in the markets that we haven't seen in a while, where they just value plays. The IWM. For everybody that's been sitting in the IWM waiting, this thing's finally starting to break loose. And I put up a chart on this today. And if you look at the daily chart, right, just starting to break this resistance zone the last couple of weeks, starting to get going. But if you go out and look at weekly, you can see it really just hasn't participated. We haven't gotten back to that January high yet of 2018. So, this could be an area where they come in and say, okay, we're going to move the small caps and the value names. And
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
got to think of, we've already seen it with the banks getting very active. You've seen biotech, a lot of those small biotechs. I mean, God, every day we come in, it seems like a new one is being bought out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking Ameren on Friday. I was thinking that maybe like a buyout, but I guess it was like FDA, type stuff. So
Yeah, in fact, I posted it was a buyout because I saw the news and it turned out to be fake, and I quickly retracted it because
that's
I
right.
don't
I
like.
remember that. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Fake. Oh wait. Yeah.
And then people are
Imagine
like,
that.
you're wrong. It is a buyout. I'm like, no, I'm not wrong. I think it's an FDA approval that we already
Yeah.
knew about, but
Yeah, exactly. But it was early, so that
yeah.
type of thing. So
But a lot of people got screwed on that because they were closed all the way
that was nasty. Yeah, it was into
from
the.
one till after after sometime after 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So yeah,
So
it's halted until then.
I had people asking me on Twitter, what do I do? I said, call your broker, because if you're in weekly options, you need to call and figure out what they're going to do with them.
Right. Right.
So that's tough. You got to be aware of that. That can happen. You can get a halt on a Friday, and if you're in options and they expire in the money, you're going to get assigned.
That's why those biotech ones are so tough to trade. I mean, really rare. The only one I've ever, I think, been halted in options was like the Tesla,
Yeah.
the 420 that day.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But I mean, but it was like, but they unhalted it. That thing ripped.
We all made money that day, but yeah, I mean, that was just the. Yeah, circuit breaker halts are scary. It's when they
Yeah.
halt and you're going to be halted all day. That's when it's tough, or you don't know how long it's
Oh
going to
yeah. Like you said, on a Friday, if you're trading weekly, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Scary
I mean,
stuff.
I love the rotation in this market. I love what this market's been doing for the most part. It hasn't been the easiest market to trade. I think you mentioned this intraday. It's just a chop fest. I mean, you get this quick move on the open, and then everything just comes right back and then ends up closing the day higher at the end of the day.
Right.
And on options, that's just wicked action. I mean, that just chews options apart, especially weekly.
Oh yeah. Unless you're just lucky to catch a momentum move at the open, that type of thing. So.
Well, that's what you have to do. You have to be quick, take profits, get in, get out, and then maybe get back in again. But I found if I let things go, I end up getting stopped out, break even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So very, very tough market when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, good, awesome stuff. Great take on the market, great perspective on the market as always. I don't know if you wanted to cover any other charts. Otherwise, happy to go through. We got a
Cover
lot of
anything.
chart.
Happy to go over anything you guys want. I mean, for me, I
Awesome.
think, things look great. I always brought out the VIX, and, I've been going over the VIX at nauseum with everybody. And the VIX is showing there's no fear, right? When you look
Right.
at the
Oh yeah,
VIX,
yeah.
there's no fear in this market. Even when it bounced up and went nuts last week, why can't I find my chart? You would think at my age I'd be able to spell, but evidently we all know I can't. But that's beside the point.
You're fine.
There it is. The VIX is kind of funny. 12 has been this range this year where it just doesn't want to get below. And, it had to go make a liar out of me back in Thanksgiving week. It decided to push under it for a couple sessions when I wasn't around.
Right.
And then it
Right.
quickly back up here. But, the one little caveat I'd also put, if you watch the VIX this week, it's coming back towards that 12 reversal area. So you could get a little fun and games here.
Mm-hmm.
But again, look at the action. The VIX there's no fear here. This thing hit 16 and that was it. It was done.
Yep.
I actually got lucky. I think on Friday, I made a quick little bit of money on the VXX when the market dumped on the open.
Oh, nice.
Smart enough to get out of it.
Yeah.
And but honestly, there's just volatility products haven't been working great right now. And that brings
I
us
agree.
to where we are until they start working. I've been telling everybody avoid them. They make a nice hedge though. They're cheap. So if
Mm-hmm.
you want a nice hedge for your account, VXX calls are cheap.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. What I've noticed is they've stopped moving as much too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you'll see you just go back, and look at even there back in August. It's like they barely even doubled, like it was like you'd think on a huge move from like 14 to like 25 or something like that, they would, be like this huge explosive, like 10x trade or something. It's like, yeah, they kind of like double a little bit, that type of thing. So yeah, they make a good hedge for sure.
It's just not that market right now. It just isn't that market right now. And I can tell everybody be careful with weeklies. Weeklies is they don't give you a lot of time to recover. So if you
Yeah.
like something, buy time. So I was in ATVI earlier this week with
Oh,
options, and
nice.
I was red, got out for a nice win. Didn't stay long enough, but that was some beautiful option flow that came
Yeah.
into that
Yeah.
name. And the whole
That's
reason I
right, guys.
like it.
Anybody who's new and doesn't know options, Mike, like he's like an expert at evaluating option flow. He'll tweet it out on Twitter. So if you guys don't follow him, definitely be sure to follow at Options Mike. It'll all be in the description there. And then also the your website too,
Yeah,
Smart Option Trading. And
I'll give
be
you
sure
give
to
it
check
right
it out.
here. You go to Smart Option Trading. That's it. Looks like
Yeah,
that.
got a little
Come
link
out,
in there.
visit me out there,
Yep, all the
and
links will be in the description. So,
that's
but
me on Twitter. That's actually me with the set of fast money on there, sitting on there. You guys see me when I'm on TV all the time, so everybody knows what I look like.
yeah,
But what made ATVI special this week and what got my attention is first the chart. I had a breakout here right around this 57 area, and it got the flow and it broke out, and then it yanked back, and I stood in and I was red going into the neck, and then you got this big explosive move up. It finally went. And I think I sold
yep,
mine up at 57. I left some money on the table, but I'm like, I'm taking my profits just in case. 'Cause I trust this market with the news this week about as far as I can throw an elephant, which is not really far. Uh,
right,
but that made a very nice trade, right? It was trades like that you look for where they stand out, and that made a beautiful little move there. And if you're looking for something going into next week, and to keep an eye on, they were really all over this. What is it? XLNX calls on
really,
Friday afternoon, on Friday morning. The January 110s, they were all from big time. And at first I wasn't sure, but the stock, everything, it looked like they were bought, kind of like ATVI. And you got this little bit of a topping candle off the 90, off the 98 area on it, which is, not what we want to see. Where's all my
right,
stuff? But so I only took a half size, and of course I'm red on it. I'm never afraid to admit when I lose money. We all lose money. It's part of the game.
yeah,
It's part of what we do. But you can see it went right to the 100-day and shows. But what I like about this chart is it's finally getting going again. It's above the 50-day. And again, if you look at this chart, you can kind of see this when you look at charts like this. And this is what I like to do: is look for changing characteristics on a chart. And this chart has been banging against the 50-day and hasn't been able to get through that purple line. And finally it broke through this week, and you got your 2-day follow through. You got day 3 at a topping. Now see if it sets back up here for a move. And 110s are cheap. So, having a couple of these up here just to see if it wants to go is not a bad idea into something like this. This is one of the semis that hasn't participated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what I'm starting to do is put together my list of names I would like next year. And, they're not really necessarily the names that have moved this year. What you have to start doing is, if you like a sector, looking for names that didn't participate this year and then
Right.
find out the reason why. And like
Mm-hmm.
for me, XLNX kind of meets that bill because it's down because of all the China stuff, right? So when we look at this name and this big move up it had, right, it came back down on that earnings, then it had the buyout, and then it got caught up in the Hawaii mess, right? Because they have a huge amount of exposure to Hawaii. But the
Oh
truth
yeah,
is,
Huawei.
from this earnings report to here, their story really hasn't changed in what they're doing with 5G and taking on and what they're getting going. It's just the market suddenly had a different perspective of it. So they may come back to a name like this, may not, but it's worth certainly something to start to look at, especially if they start going after it.
Nice. Very, very
So,
nice.
what would you like to talk about today?
Well, we've got so folks, everybody, if anybody's any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. We'll call this like the lightning round. So, Mike, we've got a bunch out there right now. So if you don't mind, I'll just kind of rattle them off to you, and we'll, if you
Sure.
don't mind pulling up the charts, we'll take a look at them. So, the first we had was from Twitter from Vin D, Microsoft.
Microsoft. Well, I mean, if you guys follow me on Twitter, I do charts every Sunday for everybody. They're free. They're on my public Twitter site. So Microsoft's been a beast, right? It's been one of the two names that's really been powering the move up here in the Qs between that and Apple. And it put a new all-time high on Friday. So it was interesting when the market was dojing kind of weak on Friday. Microsoft powered up to a new all-time high.
Yeah.
Showed incredible strength here, broke above this level. And you can see, this big move up this year, and then you get this consolidation pattern here, which chewed people up. And that's what I always try to tell people is you have to recognize when a name is starting from an options player going into a consolidation phase.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to chew premium. That's not, that's just going to frustrate you. And you could tell in here, got into this consolidation phase. And then, there's your earnings report gap up. And then look at this move now all the way up to here. And it's got, it's got everything going. I'm not sure if that was earnings or that was the Amazon news. I forget which one that was when they won the contract.
Yeah.
But, this beautiful move. And here it is an all-time high. I thought it was going to hit up to about 160. I still have that kind of idea in my head, but I wouldn't chase it up here. If you like it, look for a move back to the 8-day. You see that gold line, how it likes to straddle it? Right? It shows it likes to pull back here. RSI is getting hot. It's getting a little extended. But, if you got a dip this week, I would definitely be looking at this name for a possible markup name into the end of the year.
Nice. Very nice. I've got Shirley. She's got 4 on here. One is EWJ. Shirley likes to try to track breakout stocks normally. So,
yeah, Japan. This is an ETF. I don't generally trade this one very much. I'm not very familiar with it. And one of the reasons I don't is I don't like gappy instruments like this that don't move during the day.
agree. Yeah, I'm the same.
And, I just tend to avoid them. I find that I don't like when I wake up and I'm red because this thing gapped down.
Right. Caps all over the place. Exactly.
Yeah. But you are seeing here, we had a little bit change in character after this gap up, and then you had another one. You're getting some wider range candles during the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is an all-time high on it or not. Take a quick look.
Definitely looks like a 52 week. So
Definitely a 52. I just don't know if it's an all-time or not on this.
Strong candles, like you said.
Not quite. So it had to move up here to 63. Strong candles waking up. If you like it, I would, put your stop in around the 8-day and see if you can go in. But it's a gappy instrument, something like that.
Yeah, those ADR type ones are pretty rough. Another one is UAA, Under Armour.
Yep. So you got Nike earnings this week. Lulu has been incredibly strong. Nike's at an all-time
Lulu's been
high.
incredible.
This name to me is a piece of crap. Hate to say it. I'm going to be real about it. If you're looking at it, it has this gap to finish filling all the way up into this. Well, the bottom of the candle is right here, up at 20, and then it can even move up into here. So maybe if Nike's good, it gets some ground. But this is your bottom feeding on this one, and this one has been a bottom feeder forever. It hasn't been able to get going. Remember when it was in the 60s? So I would rather play with Nike and Lulu than this one. But if you're looking for a bottom feeder, you're looking for a gap fill. Yeah, this is something that can come up and fill this gap. I just wouldn't expect them to be buying it into the end of the year. If anything, they'd be selling it for tax losses.
Nice. Duke, DUK, energy sector.
Well, Duke, energy is one of the areas I'm looking for to see if it can rotate around. And unfortunately, Duke has not been one of the strong names in there. It's breaking above this channel here, which is nice. It's trying to move up here. Needs to get back above the 50-day to 91 for me to get going. In this sector, guys, I'll be 100% honest with you right now. COP is one of the better names. If we go back above all the moving averages, is a much nicer chart, in my opinion, right now.
Nice.
Schlumberger already
Oh
took
yeah,
off,
Schlumberger was great the other day.
right? Ready getting up, watch it into this area. It's got to
Yeah.
power through. Probably needs a break by a dip. Same thing with Halliburton. Already had this big move. I prefer to stay with the stronger names than to try to play with these names that haven't participated. Yes, unless I see flow or them coming forward or big blocks of stock.
Yeah. Next is EXAS.
Okay. Exact Sciences. Again, another one of these little kind of laggards. When biotech and pharma has been going, and the what do you call the medical devices, and this can't get going, is a warning sign to me that this is not really all that strong. You're kind of bottom feeding in a sector that's already had a big run here and it didn't participate. So
Yeah.
I tend not to like these. It's below the 200-day. It just got above the 50-day for the first time. If it can hold that, maybe get a trend change. I'd watch to see if it can hold that. Then you can maybe get a move up and test the 200-day up here at 100. But it's lagging. Just realize that. If you tried it, I would definitely have a stop someplace. I wouldn't let it get below like 70, 78 area.
Awesome. Next we have GLD.
Gold. Well, gold got smacked down hard here today.
Now gold's been behaving a little interesting. Sometimes it's been a little counterintuitive. Like sometimes the market is like going up, and so is gold.
Well, it's been their place they've been hiding. I mean, this whole move up. This is every time they got worried about China, they ran back to gold, right? And
Yeah.
I don't generally play gold. I prefer to play Nugget or GDX. The miners tend to move better, in my opinion.
Right.
But you can see it has this downtrend here, and it's kind of just it's trying to hold this 136. You can say it kind of has a little wedge here. You can even take it all the way back over to this area here if you wanted to, and you can play it within that until it breaks that wedge. So until it takes out that wedge, you can try to either be long it or short it. But right now it's in this wedge pattern. It's out of play, and it's got to break one way or the other.
Nice. I've got thanks Delta Trader. I've got Manhattan Lad looking at Target TGT.
Love me Target, long Target. See, now you're talking my language. Where's my Target chart? So I bought Target a couple weeks ago at 24.50 on the dip. I actually got filled just below it. Sold half of it at I think 27 the other day.
Oh, nice.
And I'm looking for where's my Target chart? Whatever. What I don't like about Target with options, I use stock. The reason I use stock, is because Target tends to like to burn premium. So when you look at this chart,
it can chop for a while unless you catch like that one move.
It likes to move on earnings and then it kind of just goes sideways.
Yeah.
Right. And it's if you look at these last couple moves, here's your earnings move. This was the game changer, right? This is the move that changed the stock. Big gap, never tested. Yep. Pushed up, went sideways. Next earnings, big gap, never tested.
That was such a great candle too. The last two earnings candles were so great.
Right. All the way up here, somebody put it as their best idea list from 2020. Just likes what the name's doing. Beautiful move. If it gets above 128, it's in blue skies and it's an all-time high. So I have a stop in place somewhere a little bit below where I paid for it. And if it gets above 128, then I'll start moving my stop up and see how far it can go. But nice. Love this chart if it can take that out. This is definitely a candidate for year-end markup.
PDD.
Back to energy. No, China.
China, I think Pinduoduo.
Yeah. This name's been tough. So I don't think it was last week. It was the week before. It had some buying in the January 40 calls as it tried to break as it was getting close to this gap. And you can see this gap right here. And it's got in and out of it and played with it. And then you got this really, really ugly candle on Friday.
Nasty.
Yeah. And this is why I always tell everybody, you got to use stops. Even with options, use stops. 50% loss is a hell of a lot better than 100% loss.
Mm-hmm.
And, it couldn't get in that gap, right? It tried, it couldn't get in that gap. It came back down. So at this point, that candle tells me it's a reversal hammer engulfing candle, right? That's the ugliest type of candle you get on a daily chart, any kind of candle, right? It goes above the range, reverses, closes on the dead lows, engulfs the whole range. And so you got to look for a reversal candle now to get into it. So for me, this is just, there's nothing to do here. Maybe even a short if you're so inclined, but I'm I think there's better names for short.
Yeah. Home Depot.
Home Depot's a
Well,
tough spot.
I've seen a lot of folks commenting bullishly at Home Depot. I'm like, I mean, it hit the 200-day moving average. That was basically all I saw. So
I keep hearing that too, and I'm not as thing. A lot of people are talking about, well, it's got this trend line up into here this week, and it got down below that trend, like right. So I'm just drawing these quick guys. These are not drawn to perfection. Just bear with me. But wherever you want to draw it, it's got these trend lines into here. It's not holding in too well right now. It doesn't look pretty. What I notice here was your failure on earnings day below the 8-day, tested the 8-day, fail, tested the 8-day, fail, testing it here again. They had their analyst day the other day. I'm in steer clear mode. This name's gonna have to prove it to me.
yeah,
The chart is kind of in limbo. If it can get above the 8-day, then look for a move to the 21-day at 218. But I don't think it really wants to go far.
yeah, it's tough. CRWD.
Boy, this was a great name earlier in the year. I don't know about you, but I made a lot of money trading it. And then the second half of the IPO on this thing, it's been pretty ugly since it hit 100. And that was my
Yeah.
target through here. I said it's going to hit 100, and it did. And at this point, it's well below where it's above the IPO price. I believe the IPO price was around 25.
It gave a couple bounces too along the way, were pretty big candles that were fun. And then after that, it was like, whoa, stay out of this thing.
Yep. And it's kind of a no man's land here. It's holding this lower area. So it's kind of holding in around this 46 area. Again, here's your 8-day, went right to it. And, it's not a coincidence. This thing stopped to a dime, went to it and stopped. People say, oh, moving averages don't act as support and resistance. I'm like, really? Do you ever look at the charts?
Right.
It's kind of,
I'll go sure trade them.
yeah. I like the name. I just don't know here. It's all these cloud names and kind of are just out of play in software names right now for the most part. So if that sector wakes up, I think it's good. If not, it could come down and it may want to eventually go test the IPO price at 25.
Nice. Starbucks.
This name started to wake up, but man, it hasn't been easy. So you got this big move up,
Agree. Yeah.
And after that nice earnings, it went sideways, and then we were all watching for the breakout, kind of like Target, but this time it broke to the downside. And then it came down, and then it, this rolled over. And
it had such an epic run up, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. We were trading it back in what was it, like the below 80? I know that.
I remember when I first started trading, and this thing was in the single digits.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just kept. I was like, this thing's going to 100, and it got so close to 100, and then it's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you got look at this classic H sell pattern, right? Lowercase h down, and then it hits the 100-day, it bounces, hits the 100-day, it bounces again, comes up, hits the 100-day a third time, and it holds. And since then, it's found traction. It's gotten 2 big upgrades in the last week or two, and Thursdays was the first time it worked. And the last time they tried it, it was this candle, this big red candle here. It came crashing right back in. So I was a little hesitant on Thursday, but the market was there, it gave it. Now here's your 100-day. So if it's going to be good, it's got to get above the 100-day. I would wait for the 8-day to catch up. RSI is getting hot. This name can get hot, but we'll see. It's got to get up here and then look for a move to 91.
Nice, great charts, Manhattan Lad. Vinny VV, awesome, good. Harvey, we got Goldman Sachs and Wynn Resorts, GS and Wynn.
GS is on my list here for a possible laggard move in the banks if they continue to run the banks. This name has become really tough. But if you're looking at banks, JP Morgan's best in breed, right? All-time highs, running wild. Bank of America has been very strong. Even Citigroup's been good. This name's been crap for a long time in terms of how it trades. And, you can even see here, you got this huge news on that Friday, and we should have gotten follow through. Now it gives it all back.
Right.
No follow through, just gives it all back. But it's breaking this range and it's a laggard. So if it wants to wake up, it can go. But, it's going to not move on its own here. The sector is going to have to be in play. So if they come after the banks and you like it, you could try it. The nice thing about it gets moved, but I prefer Goldman Sachs or Bank of America. I'm sorry, JP Morgan or Bank of America.
Nice. Harvey's got another one. Hope you're doing great, Harvey. Wynn Resorts.
So Wynn was one of the names I was talking to my subs about for China trade deal. And look at that Thursday move. I mean, that was just
ridiculous. That candle was incredible.
And you didn't have a lot of time. You basically had no time. It moved
most
of that candle in 10 minutes.
You had to jump in. You just go. Yeah.
You had to either hold your nose or pass. I didn't take it.
It's too fast. Yeah.
It was too much too fast. But now you got to watch to see what it does. So, on this chart, you still see a series of potentially higher, lower highs. 1, 2, and potentially 3 here. We'll see how this plays out. If this is good, it should try to hold this area around 127 area where it broke out from, consolidate, let the moving averages catch up, let things cool off, and then see if it can push up. And then you would look for 138 is your 138, 139 is your next area, and then you got this gap right here. You got this small little gap. If it gets into that, try to run up to 142. For what it's worth, LVS is acting much better, much stronger chart, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
LVS
so
is
is
a nice
MGM.
name too. Yeah, yeah.
Next. Did I lose you?
Nice. Hello. No, I think you're there. You're there. I lost you for a second. You still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay, good. Yeah, and then MGM.
Yep, MGM. I like these two better. But all of them are getting hot. I'd let them cool off a little bit if you can.
Cool.
Before I enter.
Song, what's going on? I've got. We got to look at Apple.
Of course, we're going to look at Apple, Big Mama. So I mean, there's not much to say. Everybody keeps asking me, "What do you do at Apple?" I mean, this thing is no longer a tech name; it's a value name, right? And everybody kind of doesn't realize that. It also has this silly little $75 billion buyback that's propping it up.
That's right.
This move has been nothing but incredible. I mean, it came up, it moved up, and then it's just this very nice, slow, methodical move up. And notice again, it's been riding the 8-day, most of it dipped to the 21-day only a couple times in here. And now it's a new all-time high here at 275. They were hitting this week's 280s, 290s out there on Friday as they were started rolling out. Again, I think by the dips, your 8 days currently sitting here roughly right around this 269.77. If you got a dip to the 8-day that held, I would try it off of that for a move for a markup into the end of the year. But I wouldn't chase these two candles.
It's tough, yeah. Shop.
Boy, Shop. I didn't play it this weekend on Friday, and I should have, but I was just kind of I got into that mode Friday where I just didn't want to trade anything.
It's so tough to trade intraday. Honestly, it's it can get with options. It can be really tricky. Like it could move 2 points, and then depending on what day you're trading it, right?
Yep.
You maybe if you're on expiration day, maybe, but like if you do it on a Monday or Tuesday, sometimes it can move 2 points. You get this awesome move. You're like, yeah, I did it, and you made 30 cents.
Yep.
Like what?
That's why I trade a lot of stocks sometimes too, because I can make 1,000 shares at 30 cents. That's $300 in my pocket.
Right.
I don't have to worry about the IV or the MM games. It's easier to get in and out of. But remember this one. I called this out a couple weeks ago. Somebody came out somewhere in this mess and bought the December 27, 295 calls, about 400 or so of them. Boy, is that guy getting paid. I mean, those things are at 11 plus now.
That's incredible.
And he played like 2. And again, here's your black day after the Monday after Black Friday, that huge move, and then follow through. And then you had this week and a half of chop, and then on Friday when the market's weak, it decided to go. Mm-hmm. And shame on me for not trading it on Friday. Some people did, and they did well with it. I just got into that mode. I didn't feel like, and for me here, the next move here is probably up to 400, then into the 410. 400 is your first resistance, which is just shy of that's this topping area. And then this 410 with the all-time high.
Nice. Thanks, Song. Suresh, what's going on? We've got BMY.
BMY's had an unbelievable move. This move started back in here when somebody bought right into one of these candles here, bought the March 65 calls. And the thing has done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up days in a row, 8 before you got this 9 before you got this candle.
And that's just a reminder, guys. Options Mike is awesome at kind of weeding out the noise of unusual option activity to see what's really important and what isn't. So that's one of the great reasons to follow him.
So I mean, that was just that was a big order. People who got in that got paid if you stayed with it, and this is not the time to take it. And this is where you have to not let FOMO take over. You don't want to be chasing a name even when it's up 4 days in a row, never mind 9. And RSI is screaming ballistic. And then you start to look at how far it is off the moving averages. It's big time off the 8-day, even though the 8-day is going up vertical. Look how far it is off there. Look how far it's gotten off the 21-day. So you got a topping reversal candle on Friday. Respect it. You should have been out of your position. If not, you get out on Monday morning, and then you look for a connect with the 8-day to see how it handles it. And then if it was to come back and retest 60, this breakout area, that's your next spot.
Nice. We looked at Starbucks already. How about Twilio?
Boy, this name's been for a tough time lately.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
It's just been a very, very, very tough name. That whole space has had a rough second half of the year. You can see the whole cloud and software space. The air came out,
It really
and
did.
some of the names have held in, and people names like Adobe are doing well, but a lot of these names are just getting hammered at this point. And this is one that really just completely lost it. And you can see here, one test of the 50-day since it broke it up here, and
Right.
it failed, and now it's below the 21-day again, and the 8 days right here, and not showing any real strength or commitment to this move. Unless the sector wakes up, this is not a chart I'm looking to play with. This is not on my list of things to look at.
Nice. Matthew, what's going on? Yeah. Hey, thanks, VH and Mike, for the session. Yeah, my pleasure. It's great. Wendy, good morning. Hope everything's going well in Singapore. Papa Mentos got one. Amron, thoughts on how this plays out tomorrow?
Well, there's no buyout at this point that we know of. So Amron had the news that the FDA had approved the drug that we already knew about back here. So
Mhm.
I want to put this in perspective. I made a ton of money on Amron pre-market. I grabbed 1,000 shares and made a couple bucks profit on it before getting out on it in the pre-market on this gap up. And then you had this huge move up to here, and then it pulled back, and then you got this slow kind of methodical move up, went up and filled this gap. And obviously they knew on Friday there was a lot of call buying on Friday. I don't put a lot of faith in Amron call buying because I've seen them do this over and over again, this name, and only to wake up on because they're looking for a buyout and Monday morning to come in and find that those options are destroyed because as soon as the market stock opens, even if the stock doesn't drop, the market makers crush the IV. You're
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
they're done. So for me here, it's above 27. It gets above this 24.50. It gets into all-time highs and maybe it tries to run. And that's what I'd watch for. That's what you're playing for here. You're looking for.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
this drug news is known. This is not a surprise.
Yeah. The only other thing they did is they upped their guidance again or
Yeah.
something like that, like a little bit, but like nothing major. So
But
um,
last I saw, they were up like a buck or something like that
yeah,
pre-market.
yeah,
I'll look real
definitely
quick.
active.
AMRN is what? It was up at. No, it was up. It was up 26.70. So it was up quite a bit more.
Yeah,
So
a
if you
little
have
bit.
options on it, I would take some profits and put a profit stop in place on the rest of it on the open.
Nice. Heather, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Joy of Apparel, good evening. Manoj, hey, hey. Alex, we've got a couple of requests right here. So VXX,
VXX with the VIX. We talked
I know we
about
looked at that. Yeah.
VXX is a ETF that tracks to the VIX, and one thing you got to remember about this, even though this is not a leveraged ETF, like some of the ones like UVXY, it does decay because it is using futures and options contracts to mimic the VIX because the VIX there's no real VIX, right? There's no underlying on the VIX, so there's nothing to own there.
Yeah.
Bottom line, look at this candle, right? We took out the recent low. That tells you they don't want anything. Volatility's dead. And there's a lot of people been talking to me lately about how, they're starting to see the same structure in these ETFs that we saw just before the big low volatility blow up. And they're saying it's coming in. Well, those things don't typically happen again, right? But I can see the case that if we do get a big volatility move, there's a lot of people that are short the volatility here that we can get a big covering. But to me, this is until VIX really starts to wake up and get some real selling in this market. This is only a hedge against the markets. There's nothing to do with this.
Nice. Beyond.
Oh, fake meat. um, I mean, the change in this name is drastic, right? IPOs, huge move up, has a huge amount short and has no float, and they rotate the float 2 to 3 times a day. It originally had no float. They come out and they do the unprecedented secondary before the lockup. They let people out of their lockup, and honestly, this is your classic type of move in a name like this. This was a bubble. Look at how we went from these wide range candles. Notice the candles are getting smaller here. That's because there's a lot more float available in the market now. So they don't rotate the float as easily anymore. That's why you don't get those big candles on it anymore because there's a lot more stock available out there. And to me, this thing looks like it's either consolidating here for a breakdown or a move down lower and maybe come back and test down to this 45 area. We'll start here at 40.61, or it's got to take back the 21-day where it failed. You can see from the breakdown here, the 21-day hasn't been able to push through, and that was your last test. So until it can get above that, there's not really anything here other than a quick scalp in the market.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing too is that even fresh news on it hasn't been moving it as much anymore. So like, they'll have a new deal with a new restaurant or a new
Yep.
Costco, whatever the case is. It's like it moves a little bit, and so it doesn't really get anything off of that news. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's just because it's just what it is, and it was a cult. It was a thing. It was the thing to play with, and they played it until it's dead, and now they're done with it. Kind of
Yep.
like we saw with the blockchain names, and we saw with the pot names.
Yeah, Tilray. Yeah.
Yep.
EW.
EW. Don't see that one very often.
Yeah. Hey.
Um, beautiful chart. This name for me is kind of I don't. This is an investment stock, not necessarily something I would trade. I don't know. It's not a very liquid stock. What I mean by that, it very rarely trades above 1 million shares a day. I don't like to day trade anything that trades less than 1 million shares a day because it just doesn't have the liquidity there that I'm looking for. But if you like this name, you had this beautiful move up, came back in, tested the 100-day here, and came back into support into this area. It's got to hold the 100-day. If it can't hold the 100-day, I would be out of it. If it holds the 100-day, then it starts taking back the 8, the 50-day, and the 21-day. Then you can get a move up and potentially retest. I'm not sure what the sell-off was here. I don't know if there was news or anything. It's not a stock I track.
Nice. How about work?
Another one of those recent IPOs, and boy, I made great money on that day when it IPO'd. And since then, this thing has been straight down. Well, it didn't IPO. It did a direct offering. And if you didn't know what the difference is, an IPO have all the bankers behind you and they're out there propping the stock up. A direct offering is when you say all the shares we issue to our people in our company and people who have helped us out, we're going to allow them to sell a bunch of it here at a price as an offering to the public. And that's what they did. So you have no support from any of the big bankers like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley.
Right.
And that's been really evident this name since it came out.
Right.
It's been, it really just been down, 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 down. And, try to get a little in here, and then earnings weren't good enough, and it's back down. And honestly, I don't know where this goes. I like their product. I like what they do. I don't know if they're going to be able to actually get going fast enough before people like Microsoft, who are already copying them, just make them irrelevant.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks, Alex. Papavento's awesome and had like good stuff. Inviv, good. Alex, yep, good, good, good. Awesome, good. Session, what's happening? LMT.
Lockheed Martin. Again, defense stock. This boy has been strong. Man, not a name I normally typically trade. First of all, the options on this thing are not liquid. So you got to be very, very careful with these things. They're usually very spready. There's not a lot of volume or open interest usually on most strikes. So you got to be very careful about choosing what you trade on this. This is another name that just loves to burn premium, right? It's just sitting here. When you see a pattern like this, you shouldn't be sitting in options, because you're sitting in options. All they're doing is decaying every day, and they're chopping them around. They're pulling them in and out. Chart looks fine. Had a big move like everything else this year. To really get going, it's going to have to take out this 394 area, which right now it's currently trading about $8 below it. You can see how it's just kind of riding here on the 8 and the 21-day, and the 50-day has been support right down here at 381. So you can try it off of there, or if you're in it, you can put your stop at 381.
Nice. Another interesting one, MLNX.
I don't know this one.
Yeah.
Oh, Metatronics. Okay. Again, talk about a very, very low float name in terms of the amount of every day. It doesn't trade a lot on the markets. Very, very small moves here on this thing. This to me is an investment. It's not a trading vehicle. You got to know about the stock. I don't know enough about this stock to tell you whether you should be in or not from what they're doing or what's going on. But I can tell you by looking at the chart, right? It came right up and it broke above this candle. Finally, you got this big candle came back in, and now it's trying to retest. And if it can actually kind of break above this area, it may try to come up here and test the highs of 120 area. So if it can break above, call it Thursday's candle, look for a try to get going again. Good.
NVIDIA?
Everybody wants to talk about NVIDIA. NVIDIA. Everybody loves NVIDIA. Boy, this company is a tale of two charts, right? So if you go to the weekly, we just go to the weekly real quick on this, and it's had a rough, what goes up comes down. And I always tell everybody, I mean, this thing was trading down the 20s, right in the teens. You got this explosive move, and we all made a lot of money through here on it. And I said it was going to go to 300. I was wrong. I just missed. It hit 295. I was wrong on that. But since then it came down, and you can see it actually hit and held the 200-day on the weekly, where it bottomed, and is slowly trying to come off out of that, and it's coming out of this consolidation area now, and breaking above that high point and trying to get going. You got a nice little weekly candle here. So when you look at that and you come back to the daily chart, you can see it's got a ways to go to get back up to the all-time highs. It really needs a good earnings, and they're kind of been stuck. AMD's kind of eating their lunch right now, and that's a problem for them. And they're slowly getting their act together with it and starting to do better. But you got a big wide range topping type shooting star doji here on Friday. That's a worrisome candle to me on this one. Try it if it weakness off the 8-day, or if it was to come back in here. If it held 221, that'd be incredibly strong.
Nice.
I just think there's, it's trying to wake up. I just think everybody remembers this thing when it was in play from a couple of years ago, and it's just not the same name.
Mm-hmm. How about Zoom?
So love Zoom. No, of course not. ZM. You see what you have been doing there?
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah. I remember when they IPO'd, everybody was buying ZOOM.
Yeah.
It was a good day. They're like, hey, we're making money today.
Love the name. The funny thing is they're the only profitable one of all these IPOs that came out.
Yeah, and their product is awesome, and we're using it right now. It's fantastic.
Love their product. That said, guidance was a bit light. There, wasn't great guidance, and here they are right now. And here's your IPO open high. Again, this was a name that I think they moved. I think they IPO'd at 35, if I remember. That was the offering, and they gapped up to 60. By the way, I hate IPOs. Yeah. We're gonna. What time's it gonna open? Well, we're not gonna say it. Not until we've pumped it enough where we can get the price to more than double.
Exactly.
That's what the bankers do, right? We keep pumping it.
Yeah, keep going.
But honestly, if you're in this chart, you got to look at this and say it's got to hold here. If you lose 60, you're into what we call price discovery. You got no history below here. So, it could drop, and it could drop hard and fast. And right now it's in a bear flag formation. So I'd be very, very careful with this name. If you're long it, I wouldn't look to long it until I saw something a little bit more powerful than this cluster of candles right here.
A great setup. Guys, we're getting almost to 9 o'clock here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of just grab one or two from each of the requests here. Session, we'll check out those other ones later. Blonde Broker, good to see you. Hope you're doing great. Doku's
been incredible, right? Beautiful move off that last earnings here. Kept going higher. I mean, I played it that day, a couple days later, and then I didn't play it enough again after that. Beautiful move up here. Earnings again were good. You can see one thing you love about this candle. This was your earnings day. It dipped on the open hard, and then they bought it back all day long. Showed some commitment to it. Came down weakness, and you got this pop. You got to respect that this name has moved a lot. It may need to be a little bit more consolidation phase, but again, change in character. This gap never tested. When you see that, you have a winner. Here, not as clear at this point. So you want it to hold above this 74 area. If it can't hold 74, I'd be a little bit leery of it and see where it wants to go.
Nice. Phil, what's going on? Roku.
Roku, man, we've been having a lot.
One of those tonight.
Yeah, we've had a lot of talk about Roku. Actually, let me just go pull my Roku chart up here. So last weekend on Sunday, I posted a chart saying it may have a date with the 50-day. Well, it hit the 100-day. It went through the 50 days. For what it's worth.
Yeah.
Oops. No. There we go.
It like ran by, grabbed some water from it, and was like, see ya.
You have this big uptrend on Friday. It took out. By the way, last November, I was saying this thing's going to 100. It's going a lot higher. I was pumping it. This thing's had this incredible move all the way up to 176. You have to look at this chart now and say there's a lot going on. First of all, you have a lower high. Here's your high. Here's your lower high. That's a problem. Second thing, it got into this gap, looked like it was going to fill, and gave a reversal candle on entering the gap. I got in it that day and got out of it for a very small gain. I got lucky. And, since that day, it's shown no power, and then it's finally rolled over here. And this is a big spot. If it cannot reclaim this trend line, the 100-day and the 50-day quickly, I think it's going to have a date with the 200-day down here at 107.
Yeah. Yeah, so if it wants to bounce, Phil, it's got to do it now. Otherwise, watch out. Yeah, good stuff. Jay, wow, had no clue you guys were on tonight. Kudos to you. Awesome. Well, glad everybody made it. Session. I'm trying to think between the two. Okta or Now. Let's look at Now.
ServiceNow. Again, nice move up here. Earnings were good, but then it couldn't hold it. Right. Beautiful move up, nice earnings, and then it slowly gave it back. That's never a good sign. You don't want to see that. Notice how it came up in this range and it gave it back the breakout area. So now for it to get going again for me, it's got to get back above, let's call it roughly 276, and then see if it can get up above this 285 4 area, and then maybe it can start to move again.
Nice. Well, oh, here's actually two here. Jibbin for giggles. What's going on? How about LK?
Luck and Coffee, boy, this name has been unbelievable lately. Uh, it just took off on this gap up on earnings and then this huge short squeeze. And then you want to know what a short squeeze is? That candle is a short squeeze.
That's right.
That's a day when everybody that was short this thing got squeezed. Then they went up into here, then they yanked it back, right? And this was tough in here. People got caught in this, came all the way back down, scared everybody who entered. If you entered here, you probably got knocked out, and then it went up and make a new high. But right now, you got to be a little careful. It's showing a little bit of fatigue. I don't know where this is going to go. The call buying is slowed down. You're seeing a little bit more put buying on it.
It's in a dangerous area right now. A lot of folks are talking bullishly on it on Twitter. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are saying. Maybe you got know something I don't know, but it's like,
if it was to take out the IPO high, the next trade for me would be if it was to take out this 3350 area, because then it's showing a new all-time high. You're getting the blue skies.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, Chris, that was a good day. Joel, what's going on? Iran, Korea is outlier. That is true. Yeah, good. Anything could happen there. VIX good for Black Sajin. Yep. When Iran attacks. Yep. Sorry, Joe. Appreciate you, man. Brian, what? May as well take a look at Amazon.
Amazon, man, this name has just been out of play. I can't tell you how many of my subs or how many people I have on Twitter. What about Amazon? What about Amazon? What about Amazon? What about it? I mean, this name has been just out of play for the better part of this year. And lately, it's underperforming the market. And I keep saying, why do you want to be in it? It's underperforming the market. That said, you have this little uptrend here, which is kind of clinging to by the hair of the skin of its teeth here. And if it can get here, maybe it moves back up and retest the 200-day. You can see the 200-day, which was support here and through here, broke it here, resistance, resistance, resistance. You got a triple top in the 200-day. So if it was to get to there, I would trade it to it, but I would be careful trying to hold it for a breakout above it until we get something. Just out of play here. It's just not performing well. It's consolidating. It had a huge move. If you want to trade something that looks like it's ready to go, Google flagging up here at an all-time high, just breaking out of this long consolidation process. By the way, my phone just came on because even though I have the voice activation on my Pixel turned off, you say Google, it turns on thinking it wants to.
Oh, really? Yeah, mine does it when I say like PayX. It always thinks I'm for some reason saying, or PayC. It thinks I say like, hey Siri. It just did it just now, but hey Siri.
But anyway, Amazon, I'd be very careful with this name. I know everybody loves it because it can move. It's not really moving all that well lately. It's got to show me something at this point.
Let's see. What else we got real quick? Okay, I have a couple questions here. So, Suresh, sorry, Cleo, we're gonna kind of skip over. Oh, we got a couple. Maybe we could look at Foot Locker. I don't know if we have time to look at Foot Locker.
Foot Locker?
Yeah. And then a couple questions, and then we'll wrap up. So.
All right, Foot Locker. Earnings weren't good. You got that came back up, failed right here as it filled that gap and it's rolled back over. Retail, for the most part, other than certain names, has been very weak. For me, this candle breaking below the earnings low tells me it wants to go lower. Maybe even come down and retest the low of the 52-week low down here at 32.
Nice. All right, two questions here, Suresh. Quadruple witching this Friday. Any thoughts?
It's not what it used to be. It used to be a very, very wicked day. One thing I noticed on Fridays, they were already starting to roll out. What's one of the reasons why the action was weak on Friday? They were already rolling out tons of options for next Friday, getting out of the way. Again, typically options expiration week in quad witch, it's Monday and Tuesdays into Wednesdays are choppy, and then we get a move up as they try to move everything to where they want it for the weekend. And really, this is the last week of the year from a full trading perspective. So this is really it. They're going to position everything for how they want it, and then everything else is going to be marked up after that.
Got it. Wendy's got a question. Hey, Mike, can you share how you go about choosing DTE, strike, and SL? So stop loss, strike, and DTE. Days to expiration, I would imagine. Like how you pick your how you pick.
I teach people how to trade options. On top of my service, I do teaching. I teach options classes and technical classes on, how I look at charts and see things. When I'm choosing options, it depends. I will tell anybody who's not very experienced, you want at least 45 days. You want time on your side. I typically look for delta. That's a sweet spot for me is between 30 and 40%, but it depends upon the stock. Because if it's like a Amazon or a shop, a shop is moving like 16 to 20 bucks a day. Oh, then I'm not afraid to go with a delta of 10 and go further out of the money. So it really just kind of depends upon what I'm looking for in the move and what I'm willing to risk at the time. So, it's there's no hard and fast answer. Names that move more, I don't need to be close to the money. Now, if you have a name like GE or X, you want to either be at the money or in the money because these things don't move enough, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about how much they move, and that's why I keep the ATR up on my screen at all times, telling me what the average true range of the stock is on a daily basis. And if I see something is currently trading at 30 cents, there's no way I want to take an option that's a buck or two out of the money.
Very nice. Good. Mike, if you have time for two more charts, it looks like we've touched on all the other ones. I've got Boeing and Facebook.
Yep. Talk about
Thomas
Boeing
and Nudie.
today.
Thank you guys, everybody, too, by the way. Great charts.
Thank you. Boeing, guys, you got news out tonight that they're considering cutting or halting the 737 MAX production. Technically, this chart tells me just one thing. It couldn't get back above 275. We've rolled over, lost all the moving averages on one candle, right? That's never a good sign. That was ugly. And since then, we failed at the 8-day, the 3 or 4 times we touched it, and we're near the lows. I expect that until the I kind of my view on this is it's driven on news now. It's an event-driven stock. Until the max gets back in the air, I'm not avoiding it, or unless I hear the news that I like, I'm only going to try it with cheap options and in and out, because I don't believe that there's anything good going on here right now.
Yeah.
And Facebook.
We'll take a look at Facebook.
This name is just, what's going to hit it this week?
That's right.
I've stopped trading this name because I've gotten burned each of the last couple of times I got in on weekly options. I got in it. It likes, if you notice, this name has a tendency to pop in the first 10 to 15 minutes, and then it gives it all back. And I'm just tired of getting into a name because it finally gets me to chase into it, and then it pulls right in my face. You enter it and you wait for it to flag, it starts flagging, you get in it, and then it breaks the flag and you're getting out for a loss. And I'm just tired of that. The news this week, it was obviously not good. They're unhappy, broke down. Maybe it holds the 50-day. If not, it does like the 200-day of support. If it hit the 200-day and the markets were holding in, I would try it off of the 185s, 186 area.
Nice. Good stuff, guys. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Enjoy Life Apparel. Just definitely tune into the beginning because we definitely did a full look at SPY and SPX and everything like that and the whole take of the market. But thank you so much for tuning in. Blonde Broker, thank you. Thank you both. Great night, great session. Awesome stuff. Thank you, guys. Awesome. Yeah. So, Mike, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Mike, thank you for participating tonight. As usual, as always, we love having you on. Anybody who doesn't know Options Mike, definitely check out his Twitter @Options Mike. All the links are going to be in the description, and then his website is great. He's got a great deal. I think it's, what is it, like $25 for the first month, so you can kind of get a feel for how your option flow and things like that. So smartoptiontrading.com. The link is also in the description there. So definitely worth it to check it out for $25. And so I mean, really, really great stuff, Mike. And always appreciate your perspective on the market. And thank you so much for tuning in for dialing in tonight.
Thanks for having me on, BH, and to everybody out there, happy holidays to you guys, and enjoy the next couple of weeks, man. Try not to worry about the markets. They'll be here when we come back.
Exactly. Awesome stuff, guys. Well, thank you again so much, Mike, and hope you have a great rest of your evening. And everybody also enjoy your evening as well. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.